Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, tmosso@the1916company.com. It is in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any of our watches. Email tmosso@the1916company.com for pricing. Today, an old favorite. It's like an old friend that doesn't visit too often, but when I see this Piaget Polo FortyFive flyback chronograph, it feels like an old friend. This model was launched for the 30th anniversary of the Polo back in 2009, and it's one for the traditionalists. It has very little in common with the Nautilus-like Polo S of the 2010s, and it has a shape and details, especially these horizontal gadroons, very closely related to the original 1979 Polo. And for those who love value and complications and respect underrated high horology brands, this watch is like a breath of fresh air. Now, it is made of steel and titanium. So the gadroons are in steel, and then the case is grade 5 titanium. Although 45 millimeters in diameter, at least in terms of width from side to side, it doesn't wear that way. It's a fairly thin watch too. My calipers measure 12.4 millimeters thick, and then from side to side, or gadroon to gadroon, the total span across the wrist is 51.5, but you can see that there is some curvature to the lugs. So now I'm going to put the watch on my wrist, and I have to admit, I've considered buying this watch in the past because it has so many agreeable qualities and useful features. You can see how it really does just hold the wrist like a manacle. This thing is locked into place, ergonomically outstanding, flush enough to fit underneath the cuff. So being a Piaget, it should be functional as a dress watch with a dress cuff, and that it is, but it's also a sports watch, 100 meters water resistant. You can see that the ends of the case are far inboard of the edge of my wrist, so I'm going to recommend this for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference and up. Again, my wrist is 16. Taking a quick look, we have a strap that's a bit of a hybrid of a strap and a bracelet. You can see it integrates perfectly with the case, and the flow of the lugs into the strap is pretty seamless. You can even see that the bevel of the lug continues into a bevel on the strap. We have a matte finish. We have a billowing gadroon style with gadroons of both rubber and steel, and then you can see it is quite thick, so it's going to be durable over the long term. It is a Piaget factory piece, and it is firmly anchored. As you can see, it has end links that hold it in place using screws, so very firmly fixed in place right there. Taking a closer look now at the clasp mechanism, there is a lot to love. First of all, it's very thick gauge stainless steel, and you have twin trigger release here, so it's going to stay shut unless you really want it to open up. And one trigger is not enough. You must press both. You could see that we have a strap that's designed to be cut to length. We will assist you with this and make sure it's perfect before you take delivery. There is a micro adjustment built into each side of the clasp, which I love because it allows you to finely fit to suit, and you can see how this is done, and there's actually quite a little bit of adjustability even within the scope of its relatively small travel. And because you have one on each side, you can put one in, one out, both in, both out. You can really fine-tune. We have a clasp with both satin and polish, more of those gadroon style strakes. Rolling around, you can see we have polymer caps for the chronograph triggers as well as the crown. Now you also note there's a little kerf on the bottom, so you can more easily dig your nail in to access the crown, which has a combination of satin and polish in gadroon style to match the bezel and the strap. So there's a lot of great design parallelism here. It is a screw-down crown, once more, 100 meters water resistant. Now it is also a flyback chrono, so reset and restart without first stopping. That's great if you're timing things that occur in rapid succession. Another fun feature, a really well-tuned and crisp column wheel, which you can see through the case back. Manufacturer caliber 880p. You can see it has a vertical clutch, so when I start up the chronograph, there's no jump, stagger, or extraneous movement to the seconds hand because the vertical clutch has no inherent play. Also, if you want to leave it running on a full-time basis, you can do so because the vertical clutch doesn't cause additional wear and tear. Now we're going to stop, reset the chrono here. I'm going to demonstrate some of the other features. We have, watch the running seconds now, hacking seconds, and a quick set for rapidly cycling the date up at the top. Now, people ask, why can I see 3 dates? Isn't that confusing? Well, no, not necessarily, because sometimes the date is blocked And if you can see the succeeding and preceding date, you know what date it is currently. You can also see there's a nice polished date frame around the date itself. Let's do a lume shot. So this is a true sports watch. You can read it in the dark. It's actually fairly well lumed. Taking a quick look, you can see that the watch features a case that includes polished bevels, satin flanks, a cambered sapphire that arcs from side to side. That's an expensive sapphire to make. The grade 5 titanium is both lighter than steel and more scratch resistant, so this is a fairly resilient watch. And then on the dial you can see a silver metallic sunburst with polished and blackened Dauphine style hands for the hour and minute, and a bicolor Lancet counterweighted seconds hand for the chronograph. The registers, you can see they feature a little bit of overlap, and then we have these raised, I would almost call them almost like ears or flanking arcs, one around the second time zone, the other highlighting that this is a flyback chronograph. And we do have a second time zone right there. It has a dedicated pusher for ease of adjustment. So if you are traveling, this is a great way of keeping track of your home time, or if you are at home and you need to keep track of far-flung friends or family or business associates, that works wonderfully. Now the movement is finished to a standard that I would describe as comparable to, say, Audemars Piguet or Jaeger-LeCoultre, which is to say a combination of manual and mechanical finishing. It's a fairly thin movement given all of the complications, only 5.6 millimeters thick, which is competitive with the very thin Frederic Piguet 1185 series. It has a 50-hour automatic winding power reserve and twin mainspring barrels in series. It pivots on 35 joules. It beats away at 4 hertz. You can see it uses the upscale KIF-style shock protection. Take a quick look. You can see features like circular Côte de Genève. We have fire-blued screws, a sunburst at the center of the ball bearing, a blackened rotor with the Piaget coat of arms. You can see details of the column wheel, and it's a nicely executed movement. If you love this watch as much as I do, and I've considered buying this one for myself, reach out Team Mosso at the 1916 Company for purchase and pricing details.